Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chasing a Murderer. And today we are on part 106 of Life Beyond the Grave, which is attached to the Lori Vallow case. Also, Chad Daybell. We can't forget about him. And what we're doing here is trying to make it easier for people to understand what exactly is going on because there's a lot missing. So, where I'm going to go ahead and start off, and I want to remind you that this is mostly going to be audio. Trying to hurry up and finish this series. We know that Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell, they have been very interested in multiple probations. That when you die, that is not the end, that you can come back, and you can come back in multiple agencies. They'll refer to a lot of these multiple agencies as multiple creation beings. In our galaxy alone, Julie Rowe will mention that there's like 72 earthly creations, so a physical realm. But also within the galaxy, there's the spiritual creations or realms, and there are thousands upon thousands of places where spirits are housing or are collecting, whether they are old spirits, new spirits, spirits waiting on a new body, and she would refer to them as spirit worlds within this galaxy. She also says there are thousands of dimensions within our galaxy alone, and that there are billions and billions and billions of spirits living within this galaxy. As a spirit entity, a lot of times you're awaiting a new lifetime, let's just put it that way, or a new agency. And a lot of times, Julie says you can pick the path that you want to take for your next lifetime. Sometimes you choose a hard route, and you do that for a godly reward of some type, which I haven't had time to finish researching. So imagine people like Lori Vallow believing that really, you get so many chances. If you screw up, you're not going to hell. You just get to come back over and over and over again. In most cases, it is said that once you pass away and your spirit goes to the spirit world, you're given another chance to be reborn. Oftentimes, this means that you're going to stay with your collective family that you've known many, many lifetimes before. But there's also a chance that you can kind of not take that route. And here's what's important to note, that people like Julie and Lori, Chad, Eric Smith, all these people, they're looking for clearance and confirmation that these things are true, and they're finding something they believe may actually prove that point within the Mormon canon, and as well as the Bible. So I want to share a clip that Eric shares in a podcast, number 85, Multiple Probations, Part 2.
They who keep their first estate shall be added upon, and they who keep not their first estate shall not have glory in the same kingdom with those who keep their first estate. And they who keep their second estate shall have glory added upon their heads forever and ever. And the Lord said, Whom shall I send? And one answered, like unto the Son of Man, Here am I, send me. And another answered and said, Here am I, send me. And the Lord said, I will send the first. And the second was angry, and kept not his first estate. And at that day many followed after him.
I want to pause for a second. So Eric and Julie will explain in greater detail, and I feel this is important for understanding this case. Basically, how these spirit probations work. And to be honest with you, it almost sounds like there is a royalty within the spirit world as well. So this is important.
So we have this idea that we all had a first estate. I like to think of that as premortality, or the spirit world before we came here.
So it is a spirit world in premortality prior to coming to a physical world, where we use our agency to learn of that upcoming world. We decide when and if we will get a body and come into mortality, and what our relationships will be with the family, what families we're chosen into or that we choose to be born into. And that follows, and that's where we get into sacred bloodlines, holy bloodlines, light DNA, some of the darker DNA, some of the contracts or covenants and things like that that are made in premortality. You can have a premortality in between mortalities, multiple premortalities, and this is where Lucifer, who was just referred to in that scripture, Christ was chosen for his role as the Savior, and where Lucifer made his choice and rebelled against Father.
Listen close to this part.
And like the other Satans who work with Lucifer on his councils, they at some point in time had been exalted beings who had bodies, who were stripped of their bodies for outright rebellion against Father. Or another father. Because some of the members of the council that work with Lucifer on this planet have been on other creations. They've all been on other creations. They are older spirits. They have come, they're actually older than Lucifer. They have come from other eternal rounds. They recruited Lucifer for this younger eternal round because of the significance of this eternal round in reference, conjunction with uniting these light kingdoms. So they brought their dark forces together. I guess you could say some of their darkest, who had fallen the most, who had the most anger and jealousy and vendetta against me or you or members of Elohim, Father, and Christ. And they are trying very hard to make sure that the plan that we have put into practice and that we are living and we will see to the end does not come to pass, although it will. And I have seen past, present, future on this. They've shown me that in battle scene, and the light side will be victorious. I have full confidence in that. But what they have done is position themselves here on the earth, having been cast out. They used their agency to rebel against Father, and they were cast to the earth. And Father allowed that for a higher purpose for this earth to have the equal opposition and light to be exalted as a celestial world.
That's well said.
Okay, so we're going to skip a little bit, and Julie starts talking about how the 144,000 may work, at least in their idea of how it works, and that there's not only 144,000 on the light side, there's also 144,000 on the dark side. And Julie does mention the fact that there are contracts being signed before you come to Earth, and mentions that, you know, some people may have more light DNA than dark DNA when they return to the mortal realm. So let's listen in.
I hate to pinpoint, and here's why. With agency, even multi-creation beings can fall. So we don't like to box people in. And those that are multi-creation beings that have the potential to be considered as one of the noble and great ones could have been ordained as a noble and great one, but due to their agency lose that standing.
Yeah.
I have seen that we have actually more than 144,000 that were ordained and then the covenants, because we know that we will lose some to the dark side. We also know that Lucifer has his 144,000, and we know that they're going to lose some to the light side.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer to that I'm getting is there are 144,000 great and noble ones.
Okay.
So the difference between Julie's teaching of the light and dark and Lori's, as much as I can find out here, is you can switch with Julie's, but with Lori Vallow, once you're dark, you're dark. In fact, Alex Cox is second guessing and asking his sister, "Are you sure that Charles can't switch back over to the light?" And Lori will say, "No, this cannot happen." Sometimes she'll mislead them, and the fact of the matter is, no matter what she says, they cannot switch back. And Lori right now believes that she is a noble, royal type, godly leader. Many people trying to figure out if she absolutely believes this, or if this is just something she's using as a tool. a tool to manipulate her way to places she wants to be.
So the answer to that I'm getting is there are 144,000 great and noble ones.
Okay.
Hold on, let me see if there's more. That's the initial group, the leaders or archangels that were chosen as part of the noble and great ones. Those 144,000 are the multi-creation leaders and archangels that help lead and let's see what it is. Lead and that have condescended or will condescend or will come back to the earth as translated beings from other creations and even Middle Earth. Very few of our 144,000 are actually on this planet.
Right.
I don't have permission to say how many. And the other noble and great ones that have condescended are part of the bloodlines.
Okay, good.
Number-wise, they're not letting me say a number.
As Julie is speaking to us, she's getting directions from heaven and from angels and spirits to not give us exact numbers, that we're not allowed to know this. Only she is. And I really have trouble understanding this because, in this huge, huge universe, a couple of spirits are, in my opinion, are not going to make that much of a difference. And Julie will refer to Jesus. He's been on this earth and other places many, many times. He's very experienced at agency, multiple probations. And this is something Lori must understand. See, Jesus is handpicked to do a certain mission. The same thing Lori believes she's meant to do. So when you hear her speak of her mission, she truly believes that she's here to fulfill a purpose for God, no matter what. And she's now no longer afraid to stand ahead of everyone and say, look, this doesn't count for me. I'm above you guys. And so just fall in line or else. Now, we've got mixed testimonies from many of these witnesses, like Melanie Gibb, Melanie Boudreau, April Raymond, several of these guys, as to when they actually started using the term zombie. But it basically boils down to the very, very early spring that Tylee Ryan became a zombie. That's very important to understand. And the fact that Melanie Gibb said she was on the phone with Lori one day when she heard Lori call Tylee that zombie because Tylee didn't want to babysit JJ any longer. That is abuse of her power. I mean, that's just straight up torture. It's threatening. It's just unbelievable. And this is to her own flesh and blood that she gave birth to. So at least during this part and a little bit before, Chad is still meeting with other females and men behind closed doors and privacy, talking about these teaching and his beliefs, his predictions. His main goal is gaining the following to prepare for Christ's second coming in the near future. And if Melanie Gibb doesn't believe 100% in this stuff, then why in the world is she still there? For Melanie, all these strange ideas, she says she's just kind of taking them in, letting them marinate for a while. But in reality, she just never accepts these things 100%. Interestingly, Melanie Gibb says she noticed that Chad is talking to a lot of individuals. I mean, she was one of them that was seeking him out. But says she doesn't notice that this group is actually growing. You want to know why? Because most of the people that are in that group were recruited by Melanie Gibb. And then they all end up talking to each other. So it's basically a team effort. But one thing is a problem. Most of the time when several of these people are coming into these groups, they're coming into them all in or nothing. Sometimes, and a lot of times, your significant other or spouse is not on board. If they are no longer on board, well, they are going to be an interference to their mission as well. So you have a lot of people divorcing and separating in this timeline. Now, Julie is hearing a lot about this group, and she's hearing some things that they're doing. Not all things, but she's hearing some things, and she's giving warning that there are people that are dark masquerading as light. Julie believes that she's on this earth to help unite not only the 144,000 and people to prepare for Jesus Christ's second coming, but also to unite kingdoms within this galaxy. So this extends far beyond just this planet Earth. Importantly, there is again another mention of the second comforter. We'll go into more on that later. According to Melanie Gibb, it's around this point in her life that she's learning doctrines that she's never seen taught by Christianity groups that she's aware of. So being the godly woman that she is, who has been forewarned about the adversary and the darkness and the false teachings, she is awful open arms to this group of people. For Melanie Gibb, she compares it to like people who want to know their future. So for example, if they're interested in psychic readings, palm readers, it's basically like that. This is one of the things that draws her towards people like Chad Daybell. So what are they really? Well, this is like witch teachings, spiritual teachings, astral projection, hedge witch teachings, fortune tellers, just to name a few. And for Melanie Gibb, she says Chad and Lori are able to convince her that she's a very special somebody that belongs to this 144,000 that they're leading. And the more information that they give her, the more enticing it is to her. It coaxed her to ask more questions. She says she shouldn't have asked these questions now that she looked back, but during this time she was very curious. Melanie will later say that she should have knew that there was a dark adversary leading this doctrine, but she continued to follow that dark anyhow. She says she never really seen this group as a cult, but there's no doubt this was a cult in the making. For her, she kind of treats it as an experiment, and she must have known how dangerous that these type of teachings and acts were, especially as she's watching Charles' life fall apart and what he's being predicted to be and how they're going to have to take care of that problem. Melanie Gibb knows her doctrine. She knows the Bible. And here she is misinterpreting the doctrines with this group of people and teaching these very strange ideas. Melanie Gibb, I think a lot of it, her looking into these strange ideas, she had already kind of being a Mormon. They kind of deal with this on a daily basis anyways. I mean, Mormons really do have the finger pointed at them. So this basically isn't anything new to a Mormon when you see people questioning what they're teaching. The end of April approaches. They're doing these castings. They have problems with the women in the group, like Serena. They're wanting to kick them out of the group. Around May 5th of 2019, Chad Daybell, he searches the word malachite. Not just malachite, but on eBay, malachite jewelry. And this is a day before Charles Vallow has divorce proceedings dismissed. So if that's not premeditated in any way, give you the hint that it might have been premeditated, everything that they're doing, you have Charles Vallow. He's like, I'm going to divorce this woman. She's crazy, trying to get her help. And then now he's moving to Texas. And he's talking about getting his family back together. He's dropping the divorce proceedings. The sad part, we've mentioned it before, is Charles was like, yeah, this is what I'm going through. And now, look, I love her and we're trying to work things out. But there's a few people that are starting to suspect why Lori Vallow told Charles Vallow that she's going to come back to Texas to be with Charles and JJ. According to Melanie Gibb, we find out that Lori tells Melanie Gibb that she had to go back to Charles in order to get his finances straight. To get Charles's finances straight. She done emptied his bank. She tried to change his life insurance policy. What is there left to do? Most likely, this was an attempt to slow down the divorce proceedings. Lori knew that there was a lot to gain if he passes away while they're still married. If they're divorced or separated, that is not good, especially when it comes to property and money, especially life insurance. Lori is already suspected of really trying to screw up and change the beneficiary of Charles' life insurance to her. So here we are, early May, and she has this idea of what she's doing, that she's preparing for Charles to no longer be here. She's planning on getting this chunk change so that she can live a happy, comfortable life. Charles Vallow, loving Lori as he does, doesn't believe that she can continue to fake any longer. I mean, he believes that there's a possibility that Lori loves him and wants to work things out. Meanwhile, Lori and Chad are still having intimate moments. They're still calling each other every single day. They're still talking about these crazy ideas and marking people zombies. But I think what's on these two, their mind during this time, is that $1 million life insurance policy. I mean, it must be a forgiving person, because not long ago, she wiped out a $35,000 business payroll account. She threatened to kill him, and she also threatened how she would do it. Very strange. And it's during this time that the zombie list begins to grow. And a lot of people are confused as to why her daughter is a zombie now. I mean, is it because she might have knew too much? Maybe she tried to talk sense into her mother. Maybe she really is in the way of her mission. An interesting fact or topic that comes up is Chad Daybell being referred to as Satan. Melanie Gibb mentioned this in multiple interviews. According to Melanie Gibb, at least one account, she says that it just comes out of the blue that if Chad is Satan, then he sure is a good one. An interesting fact is Melanie would say that Lori would say that exact sentence at least 2 or 3 more times. So this goes to show you that, well, if Chad is acting more like the dark, well, I'm liking it. So Melanie Gibb had more than enough warnings going on at this part of the timeline to get the hell out of Dodge. But that's not what she chooses to do. While Melanie Gibb isn't stupid, she is stupid in the way that she thinks that other people are stupid. That she can talk her way out of everything. She's a manipulator herself. She likes to pretend that she's this innocent little angel that she's not. I'm not doing this in order to down her. This is the way she is. This is the truth of who she is. She is a manipulator. That might be the main reason she sticks around. So after Chad Daybell had searched for malachite, which was May 6th, on May 7th of 2019, Lori searches the internet for a malachite. Those of you that follow the story knows what this means. There are rings soon in the future that will be attached to the stone. And what is the interest in malachite? So in the Christian religion, in about the 15th century, it says that malachite was associated with St. Francis, and people thought that this stone could help them understand animal language. So we know that's not one of the reasons for this group needing malachite. So I kept looking. What in the world could malachite possibly be? How could it be useful to this group of people? Well, it was useful for healing. So helping you build your immune system against virus and bacterial attacks. It can help insomnia. Well, we did know that they did refer to themselves as healers. Was that necessarily the reason for the malachite? Malachite contains 58% copper, giving it that copper green look that you see. Malachite has been known as a stone for luck. It's also used in spiritual healing, the heart chakra stone. Malachite can put you on a path of success and prosperity. It's a strong, aggressive energy. It can help you break bad ties. It is also said that malachite is used as one of the most or the strongest elements to be used as a power of protection. It can remove toxic and heavy energies from your life. It can give you courage, confidence, and inner strength. Even more interesting, malachite is also known as the transformation stone, inviting you to step out of your comfort zone and move on with your life. And when something is not worth your effort, the stone will help you maintain balance, keeping you calm and able to approach the emotional decisions at ease. It's also known to strengthen bonds. It's also used to kind of manipulate your spirit energy. For energy healers, this stone is known to be a very strong source of power, which is used physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Believe it or not, there are people that are mining this specifically from the Utah area. Now remember, Joseph Smith used something kind of like this. He used a seer stone in order to translate the Book of Mormon, but it also helped them receive revelation. Malachite was also referred to the queen of the god, Juno, in Roman times. Many people speculate that Lori and Chad's use of the malachite was for their priesthood power. But what I'm learning, and I haven't had time to finish researching this, is malachite had a bigger role to play with the new Jerusalem that they were planning to build. Exodus 28:18 through 20. In the second row is a malachite and sapphire and moonstone, and the third row is jacinth and agate. Lost my spot there, and amethyst. The fourth row was turquoise, onyx, and jasper. Long story short, guys, each of these stones were basically representing the coming together of the 12 tribes. So this was basically sealed engravings. This is placed into a gold breastplate. It was actually braided with chains, and the work was pure gold and ornamental cord. It is said that they made 2 gold settings for 2 gold rings, in which those were placed into the breastpiece as well. So, this represented that, and we'll go more into the breastplate because I really haven't had time to learn all this for you guys, and I really wanted to talk about this later on when I have more time to go through it. But just know that these are stones that are placed into this breastplate that represent the 12 tribes. The building of Jerusalem, or Zion. Many times malachite also stands for turning over a new leaf, starting all over. Lots of times being used as an enchantment stone for wisdom. But a lot of people, and myself, believe that, malachite represented several things for this group of people, and one of them being the priestly breastplate. Just real quick, this breastplate was actually used and held sacred to the high priest, known as the breastplate of judgment. So also take note that they're searching for this malachite, let's see, at least a month before the event of Charles. Lori Vallow will go back to Texas with Charles for a period of time. What we hear is there's a possibility that she might have tried to poison Charles a few times using medication. That didn't seem to work out for her at all. She expected that they would get in a car wreck, and that didn't work out for her at all. And so it seems that there are multiple attempts, according to witnesses, to Charles' life, at least, or they expected him to pass away, in which he didn't. We're going to hop backwards and forwards a little bit here, but just know around, once Lori had finally caught up with Charles in Texas, there's a point in May where she will leave Charles again, and Charles will rent her a house in Arizona. This is 3 weeks before Charles Vallow dies. Lori will take with her Tylee and JJ. So guys, I'm going to end it here for right now. This one's a bit of a mess, and that's because I'm trying to finish this up really quickly for you guys. We need to get through with this so that we can, move into other things. Don't forget, guys, we have these girls that continue to go missing. Their cases are just nothing going on with them, so they need to be remembered. So share their face today on your social media. I want you guys to know that I appreciate all of you who have been here throughout the 3 years that I've been here, have been so supportive. Some of my best friends. Just know I care and love you guys. And there's a few of you struggling with health, and I'm sending my prayers out to you guys. Hang in there, guys. You can do this. All right. See you guys soon.